Demo discs are a concept that was truly ahead of its time. A disc that held various demos for upcoming games, all in one package, of your choosing. Games that allow the player to get a taste of what is yet to come, picking favorites that capture their interest, that they knew they'd be receiving their allowance money for as a kid, growing up in the 90s. It was one of the coolest and most ingenious ways to capture the consumer's interest to experience various genres of games that introduce someone to something new that they may have never heard of before. But on one fateful night, one out of many of these games that you're introduced to just so happens to be this title called Silent Hill, one of the most unforgettable and most important survival horror games in history. It did so many new things that were unheard of at the time that you can't help but just be amazed at what it accomplished. Back then, imagine many people discovered this game one day by just scrolling down the aisle at your local Toys R Us, Circuit City, or Blockbuster, only to discover this game by chance. But there are also those few who discovered Silent Hill through a demo disc, which is what today's topic of discussion will be about. Today, I'll be looking at 4 rare demo discs of Silent Hill, the USA, Europe, and Japan versions that are specific to the region. There are differences between all these versions, with the changes in the details being very minor and requiring the utmost attention to compare side by side. I'll be evaluating all these notable differences I could discover and talk about the interesting changes between each version with censored content, missing audio, or replaced features missing from the final version. The earliest demo disc the USA received of Silent Hill was a build from 1998, with the release of the official US PlayStation Magazine number 16, January 1999. While it was released in January 1999, it's important to note that the actual build in which the demo was completed was on October 10, 1998. The second released US demo disc of Silent Hill is called Silent Hill Demo CD, released on January 16, 1999. For the sake of confusion, we'll be calling them Demo 98 and Demo 99. Starting the demo brings you a very cozy and chill drive-in theater featuring 16 demos. When selecting Silent Hill, it features a control scheme, allowing the player to familiarize the controls before starting. When booting into the game, we get the title screen with Silent Hill and the trial version underneath in a small font. We have the option to select Scene 1, Scene 2, or Option. The option is drastically different as it lacks Harry's render model that you typically find accompanied by a black background. Here, we have a blue hue on the top and bottom, along with a ton of customability to the options. However, only 4 of the highlighted options are accessible, while the options in the blue font are inaccessible. Scene 1 is the introduction of the game, where we see Harry awaken from his car crash, landing him in Old Silent Hill. While in gameplay, where Harry tries to find Cheryl, there is no audio recording of the voice actor for Harry while the text shows. It is only accompanied by the ambience. When it switches to the FMV cutscene with a zoom in on Cheryl, it plays a jingle sound, which is never in the final version. While following Cheryl, we have a slight pause which shifts the camera angle towards Cheryl running into the back alley. Typically, this has an overhead aerial shot facing down on Harry in the final version. As you enter the back alley, the corpse lying on the ground is non-interactable, lacking any text dialogue from Harry where he typically gives comments when interacting with objects in the environment. This is also seen in the nightmare sequence as you cannot get a comment from Harry when you try to interact with the objects. In the cutscene with Sybil Bennett, it too lacks any dialogue from the voice actors, instead showing the text on the screen of their dialogue. When picking up the knife, this is typically seen as the kitchen knife. However, in Demo 98, it is referred to as the petty knife. One very huge difference is the map you pick up on the counter. It's missable, but when you take a glance and speculate it, it lacks a lot of detail which you see missing from the map in the final version. Also, Bachman Street is referred to as Pullman Street. When getting the radio and encountering the air screamer, Scene 1 ends with a "coming soon" at the end, featuring 𝕝𝕤𝕤𝕒𝕝 in the background. Scene 2 features the sections of Midwich Elementary School and Nightmare School. You essentially do the same process as you would in the final version of the game, solving the puzzles to unlock the medallions to enter the Nightmare School, and find a way out to escape, which is where Scene 2 would end. When you first encounter the Grey Child, they lack audio when approaching Harry, as they would make a laughing sound when in your area to alert you. In the front lobby, there's a book of images sitting on the counter with blood. It's very minor, but the picture on the bottom of two men in suits is changed in the final version to a waterfall. When picking up the chemical on the shelf, it has the background to accompany the item. This would be later cut in the final version. The larval stalker you'd find running and tripping in the hallways is instead replaced by the creepers. Last but not least, the skull map, much like the Silent Hill map you'd find in Cafe 5-2, is missing lots of details in its presentation. The second demo disc from January 1999, formerly known as Silent Hill Demo CD, is the last demo the US received to the public. It features many other previously seen elements in the previous demo disc, albeit with minor differences that are more so improvements to the overall details in its presentation. While on the topic of the demo disc, I was curious and found an auction of the Silent Hill Demo CD only available on Mercari for $300. It still goes to show how rare and valuable these early versions truly are. Before entering the main menu on Demo 99, you get a lengthy disclaimer explaining to the player that this demo is aimed at a general audience, with mature themes and graphic violence. Konami also wishes the player they enjoy what they have to present in this demo. When in the main menu, Scene 1 and Scene 2 now have been changed to Opening and Battle. In the Options menu, we see a significant change in the background, now having Harry Mason's render, and the UI contains only 4 options this time around. The opening of Harry now features his dialogue, speaking along with the text as he normally does.
Cheryl? Is that Cheryl? Where are you going? Hey, wait! Stop!
This also includes the overhead aerial shot of Harry before entering the back alley to chase after Cheryl. Missing from the previous demo disc was the interactable environment, whereas now we see Harry has dialogue when he interacts with objects in the environment. The cutscene of Sybil Bennett now contains the previously seen missing dialogue, which has now been implemented.
Like I've been run over by a truck. But I'm alright, I guess.
Glad to hear it. You from around here? Why don't you tell me what happened?
Wait a second, I'm just a tourist. I came here for a vacation. I just got here.
The knife you'd find resting on the counter has now been changed to kitchen knife, possibly changed due to the player thinking the petty knife is a useless weapon without much durability to last them, such as when using it in combat. The map for Old Silent Hill has now been updated to contain more details in its presentation, along with fixing Pullman Street to now being changed to Backman Street. The notepad to save is still missing, however, but it's most likely due to this being a demo, which isn't necessary. The battle mode features once again the previously seen Midwich Elementary School and the Nightmare School. However, there are minor differences. When the Grey Children take damage, they now spill out green blood instead of red blood. The same is also applied to Harry when he takes damage. When picking up the chemical, it removes the previously seen background with now just the item. The larval stalker is now implemented in Demo 99, removing the creepers previously seen in Demo 98. The map is slightly updated to closely resemble the final version, although it's still missing important details such as the locations of each classroom. For the Silent Hill Japan trial version and the Silent Hill Europe playable demo, I, unfortunately, didn't find many differences compared to the North American version, although I did find minor details that are still different. The main menu for the Japan demo disc, known as Tekkenban, features a different logo compared to the North American version. It has a light green hue as the drop shadow, along with a dark background. Very minor, but the option menu has a gray overlay over the options for the UI. There's also a Japanese text at the bottom that I, unfortunately, cannot understand as I don't speak Japanese. If someone in the comments section could let me know what it means, I'd greatly appreciate it. The biggest difference in the Takiban demo is in the battle mode. In the battle mode, they changed the Grey Child, which is now replaced by the Mumbler, an enemy that is typically seen later on in Annie's bar at the Silent Hill Resort area and the sewers. Interestingly enough, the Mumblers replaced the Grey Child entirely in both the Japanese and European versions, because the Grey Child failed to pass censorship as they resembled real-life children due to their design. The biggest issue is that the player has to kill these childlike creatures while in gameplay. If we take a look at the beta model of the Grey Child, it originally looks much more human-like in its appearance. Other than that, that's pretty much all I could find with these early versions of Silent Hill. While the differences found in these regional versions of Silent Hill are very minor compared to the final version, it's still really cool and fascinating to see the subtle differences that you wouldn't come to find unless you compare the early versions and the final version side by side. You wouldn't typically come to realize the existence of these early versions until the birth of the internet and the creation of forums on the subject of Silent Hill back in the early 2000s. Nowadays, it's quite a novelty to experience these versions. If anything, emulate that feeling of having a demo disc from back then. Anyways, that's me. Thank you for watching, please have a great day, stay safe, and goodbye.